Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's devotion for January 11th. Today's devotion is titled A Simple Request. The Bible reading is from John chapter 21, verses 17 to 24. The third time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" He said, "Lord, you know all these things. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep. Very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." Lost my spot. Hold on. Jesus said this. Blah, 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 blah. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Then he said to him, "Oh my goodness." Then he said to him, "Follow me." Peter turned and saw that the disciple whom Jesus loved was following them. This was the one who had leaned back against Jesus at the supper and had said, "Lord, who is going to betray you?" When Peter saw him, he asked, "Lord, what about him?" Jesus said, "If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You must follow me." Because of this, the rumor spread among the believers that this disciple would not die. But Jesus did not say that he would not die. He only said, "If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you?" This is the disciple who testifies to these things and who wrote them down. We know what his testimony. We know that his testimony is true. "Please clean the front room before you go to bed," I said to one of my daughters. Instantly came the reply, "Why doesn't she have to do it?" Such mild resistance was frequent in our home when our girls were young. Excuse me. My response was always the same. "Don't worry about your sisters. I asked you." In John chapter 21, we see this human tendency illustrated among the disciples. Jesus had just restored Peter after he denied him 3 times. Now Jesus said to Peter, "Follow me," a simple but painful command. Jesus explained that Peter would follow him to the death. Peter barely had time to comprehend Jesus' words before he asked about the disciple behind him. "What about him?" Jesus replied, "If I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you?" Then he said, "You must follow me." How often we're like Peter. We wonder about the faith journeys of others and not what God is doing with us. Late in his life, when the death of Jesus foretold in John chapter 21 was much closer, Peter elaborated on Christ's simple command. As obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. That's enough to keep each of us focused on Jesus and not on those around us. How are you tempted to compare your faith? How are you tempted to compare your faith walk with others? Excuse me. How will you keep your focus on Jesus today? Thank you for joining me for today's devotion, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.